Okay, interview with Marius about MENstruation Foundation and his journey.
Okay, great. Hello, Clayton.
Hello.
Okay, I'm Marius Basson. I'm the co-founder and director of MENstruation Foundation. We're a charity in the space of female care, hygiene, education, and sport. We've opened in 2019, and I'll tell you a bit about Foundation, what we do currently in a bit. Okay, you want to hear a bit about my journey?
So first, let's start on your key inflection points from sort of getting into business to where you are now in the social space. Okay,
great. So I'm a 70s born baby from the West Coast, so very different time when I grew up in the 90s without cell phones and any of that. I mean, the words my kids now say, like Google and these things, didn't exist when I grew up. But yeah, long story short, I was a professional rugby player, had to stop that because of an accident. I went into hospitality, so I studied at Grangerville Hotel School as a hotel manager, worked in London for 5 years, the States for a year, and then came back and worked in the South African hotel industry for 2 years. Realized it's going to just frustrate me in this country, unfortunately, and then started my own events business and training school in hospitality. Built that business up, that was 2003, to a multi-million dollar, million rand business, which I sold in 2014. The reason I sold is that my current wife said she will not marry me because I was home 52 days in a year in Cape Town. But that happens when you're an entrepreneur in the hospitality industry. Yeah, then I did bespoke exhibitions that I brought in and training. Still hustled a few other businesses, like a tech business and a few other businesses around it. Consult then for tourism in 2018, 2019. And the DG of tourism actually said, Marius, you need to open a charity, because he thinks I would do very well in it. At that point of time, for me, giving money in a church on a Sunday was already grinding my teeth. So it was a very different experience to look into charity. But my own daughter was then 8 years old. So I thought, okay, let me start in a little girl child space. Contacted a good friend of mine called Siv Ngezi, which is a well-known South African actor, MC, comedian. Siv said, let's meet up. And within 10 seconds, we created MENstruation Foundation. Started off, 2019. In the beginning, like any other non-profit organization in South Africa, or most of them, it was basically a charity that asked people to donate, and then we would redistribute in the channels that was needed. But because I've been a businessman for a very long time, I realized that to be sustainable, you need to run a charity as a business. And that's what we created in 2020. Well, that's my journey up to the foundation.
Cool. So since 2020, what are some of the business sustainability pillars you put in to make this company be able to run if you had to step out, if Siv had to step out?
So again, firstly, we had to look at the problem. So our main project or main focus is sanitary pads in the rural sector. So just quickly on that, in South Africa, there's 22 million females that's on the menstrual cycle every month. Out of that, 8 million cannot afford it. 4 million is in the school and university sector. So you're looking at, if you look at 4 million in 5 days a month that they miss, you're looking at 20 million school and varsity days missed in a month because of not having access to a product that should be there for the girls anyway. So we had to look at what is the biggest problem in this? Typical, like any other NPO, there's a lot of them that do it. Like I said, people would donate product and we would go and hand it out in areas that we thought they needed it, but very quickly realized that the corruption in that space is huge. We experienced it firsthand, where we went the first week, gave 2,000 packs of pads to a school, went the next week and not one girl received a pad. And then it was a teacher that sold it in the community for R1 a pack, which obviously is nothing, but still made himself 2,000 rand. And then we realized that, it's a product, again, needed every month by a lot of females. So obviously corruption is high in it. Even the ones that gets given to girls at school in their hands, A, which is undignified, but B, she takes it home where it gets taken by somebody else or used or sold by somebody else. And a lot of times she doesn't, need it straight away, and a period only starts the week after that at school, then she doesn't have access. So that module does not work. Government's involved with it. They spend about 60 million a year, and I think they're doing good. But even the schools that they donate to us has approached us for a sustainable solution. So yeah, like I said, we had to come up with a module, firstly for the non-profit to be sustainable. So we run it as a business. So we're very clear and transparent on all funding that come into us. Works as follows. Every 100 Rand that comes into our non-profit organization, 10 Rand is admin and commission. So if somebody refers, somebody help us out, we gladly will pay them a commission for up to 8%, and the rest is for admin fees. 30% is for product, 30% is for impact, and 30% is for sustainability, which is we employ people. I mean, we've currently got 9 people working for us on a full-time basis, earning anything from 5 to 25,000 Rand a month. But a charity, you can either do charity on the side and give 10% of your time, you'll have 10% impact, or you can do it 100% of your time and give 100% impact. And that is unfortunately the difference. So it works well for us. We're very transparent about it. Everybody knows where their money is going to. But we also realize that through the distribution, we need to have a system in place that takes the corruption out and brings the dignified problem also to the forefront. So we created in 2021 a solution called the sanitary pad dispensing machine project. It took us about 9 months to make the pilot. Firstly, because obviously when we started, the first company wanted to charge us R1 million for it to come up with the pilot system. Then we went to Stellenbosch, talked to a few engineers, students there, and paid them 15,000 Rand, and they came to us and with a solution. 9 months later, we installed our first sanitary pad dispensing unit in a school in Cape Town called School of Hope. And the whole module works as follows, is that we get corporates to sponsor a machine for at least 12 months. The sponsorship includes the making of the machine, the installation of it, the tokens, and then 12 months of stock, 12 months of product, and then 12 months of a SLA, service level agreement. And that's for us to every week or every month go and restock the machine, look after the machine, make sure it's fine. And that we use for our sustainability. Obviously started with 1 machine, 2 machines. Now we've got 65 machines on a national basis, and we've got over 100 already over the next year to be installed. We are in Cape Town, Durban, PE, Bloemfontein, Joburg, Pretoria, Lesotho, and Botswana that these machines work now. And the module works perfectly well. We are fully sustainable at this point of time, like I said, for the 9 people that works for us. And for the money that comes in, we always allocate over 12-month period, because we obviously promise the donors that it's 12 months of stock. So if we get in 120 Rand, we don't spend 120 Rand, we spend 10 Rand monthly, and it gets put away in a savings account, and it released monthly for that amount, which obviously gives us great forecast budget on being sustainable, not running out of money. And as we get in more funding and more, that can grow. We can employ more people. We've always allocated over a 12-month period. Yeah. So the machine was launched in 2021, our first one. It's fully non-electrical. Reason for that is that obviously a lot of these in rural areas, they don't have electricity. Firstly, but secondly, if Eskom is down and a girl have a period, and at least she's got access. So it's robust, it's non-electrical, works with a token system. Girl signs out a token beginning of the month. Whenever her period starts, she would go to the machine, puts it in, and gets her free pack of 8 pads for that month. We do a 5% allowance for girls with heavier flow, and the system works perfectly well, and we're just growing every month more and more on that. We impact currently 33,000 women on a monthly sustainable module, and that increase every month. And then is there anything else on the current you want to?
No, I think that that covers it quite well. Where is your are people coming to you, or do you have an outreach going to people, in a sense, selling yourself, or have you reached a tipping point where people are calling you and asking you to come and assist with the solution? I know you mentioned 1 or 2 schools that are assisted with government already are calling you.
Yes, yeah.
But in terms of continuous growth, where does that lie?
So we've got over 30 sponsors and donors on our books that currently would either help us with sustainability or that owns machines in the likes of big companies like MTN, PEP, for instance, Woolworths, Truworths. I mean, there's so many of them out there, Infinetics, a lot of them that's taken a lot of machines or just provide us with product or services. I mean, we've got our own lawyers firm that looks after us, our own designing firm that looks after us, so that doesn't cost us anything. One thing we've never done since 2019 is ever applied for a grant, ever asked anybody for funding, ever did, in that sense, advertising. So all our funding comes through my partner, Siv Ngezi, as an influencer in South Africa, and obviously working with a lot of brands. So that's 90% of where our funding comes from. So if to a post, people see it, you know, like PEP is one of our biggest donors. They've got 22 machines, and the lady from their CSI side and procurement heard Siv talk on the radio about what MENstruation Foundation does, for instance, you know, and how they support us yearly. We've got a great group of ambassadors. So we've got Babalwa Lacha, which is the female Springbok rugby captain. She's one of our batches and a director of MENstruation Foundation now. We've got Sinalo Jafta that plays for the Proteas Women Wicketkeeper. She's also a director and ambassador. We've got Linda Tom, the designing lady that started off as giving her services, and now from Black Orchard, and now she's one of our directors. And then we've got Skaran Tabeni as an ambassador, which is also a Springbok and Western Province rugby player. We've got Mishka van der Skyf, she's a South African influencer that lives in Italy. We've got Kiweji, which is an up-and-coming singer from the Eastern Cape. And we've got signed up Nadine Roos now, which also plays for the women's rugby, Springbok rugby. She's from the Blue Bulls. We've got Zinle, which is also plays for the Springbok women rugby and for the Sharks, and she's a firefighter by day. So that's her day job, and then she plays a bit of rugby on the side.
So interesting, just to pull you back there, how obviously this started as men.
Yes.
Fighting for women, but you've obviously now had to step over into a lot more female ambassadors. Did you find that was a need, the women, or was it just a reality of these women seeing what you were doing, going, hey, this is actually our sphere and we want to help?
100% on both ends. So these ladies did approach us and say, how can they get in? But just involved in the beginning, and then obviously we were fortunate enough that they had influencing status or celebrity statuses. But yeah, Siv gets, I mean, because he's the forefront of it, gets a lot of females that gives him slack about it, you know, especially because we're doing so good. We are by far the biggest, you know, in this country of what we do when it comes to that reach. And we men that started, and you know, female always give Siv nonsense on, especially on social media, of like, what does he know? You know, what do we know? Because then we're very front about it. You know, we've never bled like that in our lives. I mean, I've had a tampon on my nose on a rugby field because it stops the bleeding, but that's as far as it goes. So it's important for us as we were growing to get females on board.
It's fine, I'll walk down the street. Cool, thank you.
So to get females on board, not just from an ambassador side and that reach, but also from understanding it, and then also that other females can then see, like, look, this is our thinking tank where we go to when it comes to like what pads do we use. So I mean, there's obviously so many pads out there, I mean, that I never would have known about. But like Babalwa is our guinea pig, you know, whenever people gives us pads, she's the one that will put it on and go run a rugby field and tell us it's a good pad or a bad pad. So we're all about, obviously, very good quality at a low cost, and the 12-hour pads, and that we obviously can only do through the females that work for us. We get it all the time that people will contact us about, you know, different sanitary products like reusable pads, obviously all environmental friendly, menstrual cups, stuff like that, which again we wouldn't have known if we didn't have the female base that we have, but be also working in the poverty sector. I mean, we think those products are amazing and definitely part of the future, but what people don't realize, I mean, my own wife uses a menstrual cup. It's it's a different LSM. She does it in the shower. She's got access to running hot water. Now, our target market is the 8 million females that can't afford a sanitary pad, and these are females that live in rural areas and townships. These people not realize that they don't have access to running hot water. You know, it is quite a big thing. It is for a lady to go and wash out her pad and hang it on a outside to dry. I mean, it's not dignified. You know, they don't have the privacy for the LSM. What is they good for? Yes, down the line maybe, but not for now. So we focus 100% on sanitary pads and accessibility for females. Sanitary pads. Our pads are all 70% biodegradable. We've done our studies on where it goes into landfill and how it biodegrades within 2 years. It must be high quality, all of that about it. But again, that's why we've got a female base, and it's grown so much for us. So coming back to that, yes, we had to bring in those females, so that helped a lot for us. And now those ambassadors, again, our reach is so much wider. I mean, through our base of Babawa and them, Atlas Foundation is one of our sponsors. We are the sole charity for SA Rugby on a overall basis. So even the men, all the unions, the Cheetahs men just did a fundraising event for us. You know, some of the Springboks guys will do posting and do donate towards the cause and stuff like that. But again, that's through our ambassadors and that. But yeah, we've never asked for a grant, never asked for
and
funding.
The sport. I mean, you started your story. You were a professional player.
Yes.
You brought in sports so where does this product and sports or your foundation? We know the need. You've spoken about the need. Are you doing more in the sport outreach environment, or is that just tying in two passions? Like, how did that come about?
It is 100% tying to two passions. Even Sif played a bit of very good rugby in his heyday. He still thinks sometimes he can still. But yeah, so it's tying in a passion has always had with obviously the need for it. Because what people don't realize, like I said earlier, is that there's a lot of great female athletes in South Africa on an overall basis, not just in rugby.
Yeah, well, I mean, Banyana doing a hell of a lot better than Bafana.
Yeah, 100%. You know, our swimmers that won Olympics and stuff like that. And a lot of times these up-and-coming females miss practices because they don't have access to sanitary products. And I mean, you can't run around on any field if you have your period. I mean, it doesn't matter what cloths you try to put in there, you'll always bleed. So they miss on these opportunities. So that we only again realized as we were going into, for us it was just all in the beginning all about schoolgirls and stuff, and then realized how big is the problem after that. So yes, it tied up actually quite nicely. It actually aligned with us, bringing the two together through the likes of Babawa and them, and it works perfectly well for us at this point in time.
Cool. Okay, so looking at, you're still predominantly based on donor funding.
Yes.
So yes, you're taking it in your SLA, you're doing long-term funding, but it still remains funding. Do you have a financial tipping point where there's enough money in the bank of that 30% of sustainability that gets saved up where there's enough interest, or do you have another plan for financial sustainability going forward? Okay,
yeah. So I mean, to stay obviously sustainable, and there's a module in Canada that a lot of people do. So when they look at donors and funders, people obviously a lot of time will donate either an amount towards a product, which this is why our sanitary pad vending machine product has grown so much, because people can now see there is the machine, it's up, they can see, they get the stats, how many schoolgirls use it, how many days have been saved, they put up their branding, they can say, oh, we are on that school. So that helps from that perspective very much so. But how they work in Canada is they get some of their funders in to say, look, we want to be sustainable, here's our great product, this is what we do, but for sustainability we're going to need X a month, and they sign up 3 or 4 or 5 donors that donates either a percentage of their turnover, or they just donate a set amount in a month, and then that you use for sustainability, not growth, for sustainability. Obviously in South Africa, because we're registered, we can provide any donor, funder, corporate with a PBO number. So even if you, Clayton, give us 1,000 Rand a year, we provide you a certificate, and you write that off against your income tax. Mm-hmm. So even if it's not part of your CSI or any of that, it's got a tax benefit on it. But our main focus for us is not just to be sustainable and keep on doing what we do, but to grow, becoming a much bigger organization and doing more impact. Because for us, we're all about sustainable impact with growth. So at the moment, we've got 33,000 ladies. So our target in the next 2 years is to have 330,000 ladies. Our target in the next 4 years is to have 3.3 million ladies that we look after. So that's our targets, and for that you obviously have to have sustainable growth on that. How are we going to do that? Very simple. We are next year April opening our own sanitary pad factory in Cape Town. So we've worked for over a year now on different modules on how to do it, how to get it. The original module was we needed about 12 million South African rand to set it up, which is obviously a lot of investment, and we with the correct knowledge and partners and stuff like that, and funders and donors that's come to the party, we're now in the position to open that next year, April. How we will do it is we'll basically put a pack of 8 pads into the market for around 3.75 rand, where current average is about 15 rand, and it will cost us around 2.75 rand. And that rand on a pack is again for our sustainability and growth going forward. But again, if we hit our target of 2 million females, a rand a pack is 2 million rand a month, and that's how you obviously stay sustainable and grow as you make more and more impact. Because it's all about then we can then do our own dispensing units, setting it up for the distribution part of it as well, and grow and grow and grow like that. So yeah, we're doing that next year. It's the only way we will be able to fight period poverty in this country, to have a high quality locally made pack of pads for under 4 rand, basically available to those that can't afford it. The government projects that, like I said, that currently do it, then an impact around 220 schools times 5, so around 1,000 schools a month out of, call it 7,000, 8,000 schools that they need to impact. With that module, they'll be able to impact 3 times the amount of schools now for the same amount that they spent in a year now. Like I said, there is a bit of budget towards it, but it's not enough. We had Minister Lindiwe Zulu with us, Minister of Social Development, with us in our offices earlier this year, and she was like, yeah, people always ask her, like, pads must be free. There's a lot of countries that do that now, because obviously that's the way to look at it. But she worked it out at 22 million females that call it 10 rand a pack a month. Is 220 million a month, which is 3 billion rand a year. She goes, her budget is like 7 billion a year. I don't know where she spends it, because nobody knows it. But anyway, for us, like I tell her, you are wrong. That's not. You don't need 3 billion a year, because the poverty sector is 8 million. Start at schools where it's 4 million, and 4 million at 3.75 or 4 rand a pack is 16 million a month, which is 200 million rand a year. It's a very big difference between 200 million and 3 billion in a year, and this they can't understand. But again, we've never asked for government for a cent. We've never for anybody like that. We come up with the solutions, and then we will go to him and says, here's the solution. You can either use it or not to make more impact. We're not asking you to spend more to make the same amount of impact. We're telling you to spend the same or less and make 3 times the amount of impact with what we put out there. And that's obviously how we will grow through that project and make serious impact. And then we want that module to be copied and pasted into the rest of in Africa. I mean, that's why we're already working, like I said, in Botswana. They're already looking at our module on a smaller scale, but that will work for them there. The rest of the whole of Africa can be copied and pasted, and that's how we can eliminate period poverty in Africa and hopefully the rest of the world. Period poverty is everywhere. First world countries, it's in New York, it's in London, it's in Paris, everywhere. Around 30 to 38% of females in a specific zone can't afford sanitary products every month.
Cool. I'm just looking at my questions here. So let me just ask, on a personal level, your journey.
Yes.
Amazing work, by the way. Amazing what you guys are doing. How has your journey been from entrepreneur, businessman, moneymaker to NGO?
So, Clayton, I must,
on a personal
yes,
level.
no, I must confess, it's been a hell of a turnaround. I was for 10 years, 12, 13, 14, no, probably more. call it close to 20 years. Like I said, money driven. It's all about how many businesses can you own, where can you be. I mean, at one stage, offices Cape Town, Joburg, Mauritius, Durban, Dubai, all over, making a lot of money. But was I happy? Definitely not. I employed 300 staff. People were like, oh, it's actually amazing. I tell you now, impacting the first 300 ladies we had was a lot more on personal level, like reassuring or from my personal outlook of life, amazing than the 300 people I employed every month chasing money. I love the hospitality industry because I'm a people's person. But now to go into a school and set up a machine, or just I go refill a lot of them myself every week, and get a young girl child come up to you. I'm a white bald Afrikaner in this country, and obviously most of our schools are in rural children, and then have a cause a 15-year-old come to me and says, "So I just want to say thank you because you've changed my life." It gives me goosebumps. Even if I look at my own daughter now and the respect she has. When my boys run around with pads all the time, they know that daddy puts up machines. My own 12-year-old daughter did her whole oral last month at her school on MENstruation Foundation, talked freely in a class full of boys about menstruation, not scared about it. And for me, that was phenomenal. That's absolutely phenomenal. I do not miss the big business world out there. Obviously, I won't ever be rich, but it's all about sustainable. So yeah, I pay myself a salary. You need to have put pap on the plate and look after your children. But the impact is so much more rewarding than the new car you're going to buy, or the extra golf trip that you can do in a year, whatever the case may be. So on a personal level, I am now much happier than I was 5 years ago, when I thought that I was very happy. I've got 3 beautiful children, and they also adore what I do, and a very supporting wife. And it's rewarding. It's so rewarding. But it needs to, like I said, you need to have the sustainable impact and the growth around it. If I was doing it 10% of my time, I wouldn't have felt the way I would do. I would have just done it on the side of like, oh, I'm doing my little bit here out of what I do. To put in the effort and to grow with it, to learn more every day, see the other problems. A big thing for what I believe in is comes from business background is networking. I believe a big problem in South Africa with MPOs is that they all keep their little funding close to heart, while we're about stronger together. We collaborate with people that's conservationists and people from ocean and all over, work with a lot of foundations. We connect everybody, and if they take one of our, by all means, I've got no problem with it, because everybody's got, a lot of people has got good hearts and give, but they give in different areas. We've got people, like I said, that wants to give to fishes or dogs or whatever the case may be. But collaborating that person that we would, if somebody comes to us and says, okay, you guys are awesome, but we actually specialize in call it dogs or cats, then we've got MPOs that we go refer them to, and it works vice versa. Because when somebody, it's all about networking. You always network in the sectors. It's it as big businessmen, you network all the time on golf courses. They believe all the time. It's the same thing. We network all the time, especially through Civ. We go to a lot of events where people would invite us. We went to the Springboks farewell gala event, and then connect their network. And then somebody asked us actually about conservations, which we don't do, but we work with the GIBS Foundation, which is in by Hermanus outside Gansbaai, because they actually took machines for their local community. But then we could put them in touch with them again for the conservation side for the fynbos or whatever the case may be. And that's amazing how it just ties them together, and that's how you will grow and make impact, from not just from our side, from sanitary perspective side, but from everybody. Education is a big part of it. So we work a lot with we're actually doing with the Vukile Group community upliftment program on the side now through the foundation, just because of my training background, where we're training people in community and hospitality, for instance, so that they can get job experience. And a big part of that is that we focus on this job readiness, CV preparation, and interview readiness. And it's unbelievable how people don't have those little tools in this country. So we do our bit on the side, on that side as well. But yeah, just stronger together, collaborate with people, and grow and be sustainable growth is very important for us. But yeah, my life has changed a lot, and like I say, the impact is very rewarding.
Cool. I think last question on the numbers. With you're looking at the factory to make the pads.
Yeah.
You've obviously got your research into what the pad costs and have you looked into the operating costs throughout different regions, even just in a South African context, of the factories? Because obviously distribution starts becoming a question when I'm thinking now, rather than asking a question in a few statements, multiple factories, smaller scale, more impact, more people employed, rather than economies of scale with one giant factory. So you're employing more people in more places, which is a different form of social outreach.
Yeah. So
and that sort of financial need for each factory, will you be able to sustain that with that low cost of a markup?
Yeah. So when we started over 2 years ago looking into factory ready, it was basically on that module you just said, smaller factories in a lot more different regions. We actually obviously wanted to do it in rural areas when we started and employ 10 ladies from the community and hand it over. And there is a few companies in Africa, Blossom Care Solutions is one of them, amazing job. They've got the semi-automated machine from India, but it can only make X in a month. We actually bought from them in the beginning, but the demand was just too high. Then we also realized that setting up in rural areas has got a lot of risk around it. I mean, I go to a lot of these community centers on a weekly basis. The one week it's there, the next week it's gone. Robbed or burned down or whatever the case may be. People don't want to work in the rural areas. They want to be out of the rural areas and townships. So then we looked at okay, what is our next best solution? So the best solution was to create a factory that can look after the demand that we obviously look after. So to put it in perspective, like a small machine will cost you $20,000 to $30,000. The one that we're importing is $230,000, but it makes 550 pieces per minute. So easily for one machine, we'll be able to deliver over 2.1 million pack of pads at an 80% rate per month. So that is what we had to look at. So then we decided that's the module we're going to go with, because then you bring your cost down. So put it in perspective. In the beginning, the pad that you make on a semi-automated machine costs you around 7 to 8 rand per pack, and that doesn't help for berry poverty at all in this country. If you want to make it at a low cost, you need to have a proper big machine that you can make it like that. The raw material that you can feed, and the nice thing with that machine as well is we can change our raw material. So when we've got it up, we can look at more environmental friendly solutions. I mean, obviously at the moment we'll use cotton, which is 70% biodegradable, but down the line we can look at other products that is maybe more biodegradable or even compostable, which is the nice thing. But yes, so the module was then to create this big factory. Then how we're going to scale it throughout the country is through like a spaza shop system, where we will give it to ladies in communities and they resell it in their community. So we will give it to them, say at R3.25, and they still sell it at R3.75. So they make themselves a little margin on that. But again, in a little block, there's hundreds to not thousands of females that needs it every month. We're also going to do a 2 and a 4 pack, like a rand for a 2 pack, 2 rand for a 4 pack. So for ladies that really just need a pad now, and I mean a rand or 2 they can afford, but it comes down to that obviously 10 or 12 or 15 rand that they can't. So that is the module of employing more, getting more people involved in it on a national basis. Distribution, we looked at that now, how are we going to distribute to all the different regions? Like I said, currently we already with our dispensing project, we do have small satellite offices in other regions, but obviously when it comes to distribution in big scale, you needed a distribution partner. So that was our next partner that we looked at as a distribution partner. I told you earlier that the cost in total was 12 million, so that included obviously a factory setup. You've got a lot of health compliance that you had to put into that, and through a partner that's already got it in place, we cut that by 3.5 million. And we found a partner that already distributes pharmaceuticals to 1,800 farmers in South Africa. He's got 25 vehicles that run every day all over. So he's got the infrastructure, he's got everything there, he's got the space for us, and he will be our venue partner and distribution partner for us moving forward. And that's how we'll be able to bring like almost a quarter down of our costs from that perspective. In that sense, and that's how we will look at the scaling and the distribution throughout the whole of South Africa, working on that scale. And we don't have to now reinvent the wheel. I mean, I've never ran a factory in my life, you know, and to start running a factory and deal with unions and all of this stuff was we were not looking forward to. But so that's why we found, again, through our networking, found the right partner that is willing to come on board. And again, he will get paid. I mean, he will. The whole module works where the first 6 months he gives us a space for free and his whole network, and then after that we will pay him and he will get a rental between 40 and 50,000 rand for his space, and we'll utilize his staff and employ more people and grow with us. And I mean, again, if it's a partnership, there will be dividends to pay and he'll make his money, you know? That's it. It's a business. We run a business as long as they know that we're in the same mandate as us. You must, again, there's in South Africa we've got 22 million females, but just think of Africa, how many females need a sanitary product every month. It's a massive market. It's not like you buy a pair of shoes, you know, once a year. They need it every month. Why do you think these Lillettes and these big companies and Johnson & Johnson all came here to South Africa and Africa to set us up? Because it's a product that's needed every single month. And because a lot of MPOs buy in product, a lot of governmental institutions start buying product. End of the day, even if it's free in this country, somebody must still make it and somebody must still pay for it, you know, in that sense. But if we do a high quality locally made product, you can tick that box and grow with the whole thing. I mean, our whole thing is to be able to take period property away in this country and then start looking at different areas where, well, we're in the female sector, but where in the female sector can we have more impact? We can talk about it another time, but I mean, especially in the sports sector, I mean, you know yourself, I think if you read about all of those Olympic swimmers, how they were treated compared to the year before or the 4 years before that on the male swimmers, for instance, the type of bonuses they got compared to the men. To put it in perspective, a Springbok rugby player, call it, will earn 2-3 million rand a year, give and take. A Springbok women rugby player will earn not even 10% of that. So, you know, that's what we can then, again, through sustainability and growth and awareness, create that, or be able to subsidize that through our factory and through the sales of this pad, even with that small margin, because it's all scale.
Yeah,
it's all scale.
So that is for you guys then maybe linking the sport, which is at the moment an interest and a passion, but actually then a new division,
impact,
adjacent complement sort of business to what you're doing, which is remuneration of female athletes,
100%,
and bringing it up, that gender pay gap, getting it a little bit smaller. Very cool.
So our pad is going to be called a Gorgie pad. So just to put in perspective, the Gorgie Warriors was a female tribe in the 1800s in the middle of Africa that really kicked all men's asses. It's actually in the new movie Woman King. So that's how we decided on the name, a Gorgie, which is basically a strong female warrior, which is fall in line with obviously what our pad and our messaging is out there. But it's exactly that, you know, giving females firstly that product, and secondly through that product, imagine the Gorgie pad can be the next sponsor to the Olympics for females that's going, you know, or for the Western Province female rugby team or cricket team, you know, scaling it up like that. So that is the future look of where we want to go with this product, because there is reward on it and a monetary reward on it on scale. And I mean, yes, we only want X and we can give out Y and Z, you know, and that's important for us to keep on impacting with growth and sustainable basis in all sectors.
Thank you very much. I think there's enough there for my 7-page paper.
Your 7-page paper. Jeez, write a whole thesis on that.